Welcome to ISD 709 and to the community that's here, community that's watching. This is a hearing, so this isn't a typical, regular, formal school board meeting. It is a hearing, and it is the Duluth Public Schools. It's ISD 709. It is 6/19. It is December 19th. 17th. I was just going with those nines. And again, we just want to welcome CFO Business Manager Simone Zunich to present. And we will turn it over to Business Manager Zunich.
Thank you and good evening. I think Patty's going to cast for us. We'll just give her a second here.
While we're working on the casting, I'll start with what would be the ending praise and say Simone has been working Executive Director Zunich has been working extremely hard on this and has worked very hard on the audit, many near sleepless nights, and extremely, extremely grateful for all your hard work.
Thank you, Superintendent. Okay, I see we have my document cast, and I want to say good evening to everyone. Welcome to the Duluth Public Schools Independent School District 709, the 2024 Payable 2025 Property Tax Hearing. This is for the school budget year of July 1 of 2024 through June 30th of 25. This hearing document was prepared by Superintendent Magus, Simone Zunich, and Michael Hoheisel from Baird and Company. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the requirements of the Truth in Taxation hearing. Tonight we'll be showing you our proposed changes, our specific purposes for changes, and our current year budget, and our distribution of our revenue by revenue source, and how we're spending by program area. And then we will open to any public comments and questions. And we are following Minnesota Statute 275.065 tonight. And I also would like to say, if there's anyone from the community or listening, if you do have a question about your property tax statement, please email me, and I will work with you directly and the county to get any answers for you. Excuse me, I'm got a little tickle in my throat here.
Can I interrupt just with
Yes.
that and say that, so thank you for reminding how our community can help understand the property tax. And I just want to share that I've watched Mayor Reinert's video of how he explains the property statements and the property tax. And I think ours will be the same. You look at that. But I just think that was a great way for getting the message out for the community. So we'll show this too on our site.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so the school district levy and school district funds, our taxes are taxes are levied in the fall of 2024. That's what I will be asking you tonight for adoption, and are payable and collected in 2025. And then we will see that revenue in the 25-26 school year. So it's a 3-year cycle. Our school district funds are based off of our general fund levy, which is based on student enrollment. Our community education fund levy is based on the population of the district, and it also includes community education revenue, youth services, and after-school revenue. Our early childhood family education levy is based on number of children under 5 years of age in the district. And our next is our debt service fund levy, and that is based on our annual debt retirement schedules. And the annual levy is what is needed to pay the principal and interest payments of bonded debt. Now that 5% represents the fact that we actually levy for 105%, and that is because if our property taxes are not fully collected, We basically need a little savings account there to make our payments. And our debt service fund may be composed of voter-approved bonds, as well as non-voter approved bonds, such as abatement bonds, alternative facility bonds, capital equipment notes, capital facilities bonds, and long-term facilities maintenance bonds. So, okay. Next is, how will your payable 25 school taxes be spent? Their general fund, which provides funding for district regular and special education instructional programs, including but not limited to support services, transportation, instructional, athletic, and operational equipment, technology, and building maintenance. That will make up roughly 38.20%. Our community education fund is funding for our community ed programs, and early childhood family education and school readiness is 1.7%. And of course, our debt service fund is our levy for repayment of principal and interest on district debt, which will make up 60.20%, for a total of 100%. Okay, so the school district levy is actually going down this year by 2.86%. That comes to $1,323,441.87. And as we go through, I'll kind of explain how we got there. Okay, so the current school year budget, that would be the next piece that we're going to discuss. This is our budget of revenue and expenses that was adopted last June 30th. I won't go by each fund, but to the far right, the total revenues was $691,806, and our expenses are $179,392,304. So we submitted our budget at being overspent by $4,700,498. We have a couple of slides here, pie charts for you to review how, for visual people. Our revenue by source, our state aid is 60.84%. Our federal aid is 7.48%, and 25.79% of our revenue is from our levy, and then we have our miscellaneous local revenue. Again, if we keep going, page 10 allows you to look at it by fund. So 75.29% of our revenue is tied to our general fund. Okay, and now page 11, we'll look at our expenditures. And 76% of our general fund is our expenditures are tied to our general fund by 76%. Our food service is 3%, community ed fund is 5%, our debt is 15%, and our internal service and our gifts and bequests, those are our fundraisers, our little student activity accounts. Page 12, here we have it broken down by object code. The object code in our 17-digit series UFARS code identifies the service or commodity of the expenditures. So we have it broken down for you by salaries and benefits, the utilities, supplies, equipment, debt service is not part of Fund 1, and our gifts and bequests. And then we also have a lovely pie chart that has it broken down for you. Page 14. Now we have it broken down for you by program. And this kind of encompasses all the aspects of our district operations, including instructional, admin, and various support activities. So we're looking at it, how we spend the money and buy the programs as well. And then page 15 is another pie chart for those that, I like my pie chart, looking at it, pie charts too. I think it's easier to understand. Okay, now we're on page 16. On May 14th, we had a capital projects levy referendum. It did not pass. We gave you some information there, yes votes and no votes. The yes votes was at 47.84%, and our no votes were at 52.16%. We gave you excuse me, another reminder as well of our referendum we asked for on November 7th for bond refunding and capital projects levy. The bond refunding, it saved the district of roughly $2.6 million annually. That passed. Again, the capital projects levy did not pass. There were yes votes of 49.5% and no votes of 50.5%. And then we added this one more time. We did this for you last year as well. Just some historical information on the November 6, 2018 operating levy referendum. Okay, yes, let's talk about student enrollment now. First of all, I'd like to say from 13-14 school year all the way to the left and all the way to the right to the 23-24, we are slowly trending back up again. As you can see in 13-14, our adjusted pupil units, that's the bottom line, was 9,122. Kind of dipped down a little bit and kept going down, and then back in 19-20, it went back up to 9,001, went back down again, and we're slowly coming back up again. So I'm very hopeful and enthusiastic about that. Okay, page 21. This is showing you how our tax base is here in Duluth, the composite. 46.41% is our residential homesteads. 24.19% is our commercial industrial. And the other big one is our residential non-homestead, which are our rentals, is 24, a little over 24%. Page 22. We're going to now look at how our state aid and local levies determined. Good stuff. The authority for school levies. A school district levy may be either set by state formula or voter approved. So on page 24, we have our general fund gross levy comparison. I won't go through each line, but I will point out line number 11, our long-term facilities levy. We're taking a negative adjustment there of $1,561,000, and that also corresponds to line 410 on the actual levy. These are always levy adjustments that we're seeing 2 years later. I've talked to the Department of Education, and we will recoup these funds in 2 years. Line number 12, Patty, could you go? Yeah. Line number 12, we took another large adjustment of $476,000, building lease levy. I wanted to explain that one as well. That is when we had the lease at UHG, and because of the crossover from July to September, we had to take the adjustment for that. And then there's a small abatement levy of $78,000. Okay, on page 25, we now have our community education levy. Again, these are always adjustments, what you see in red. Our basic community ed levy, usually that's a formula change, went down $37,000. Our adults with disabilities levy went down $9,000. The one that's more difficult to look at is the school-age care levy. And when I talk to the Department of Education, I levy for this every year, I make sure it goes in there, but we did not have any expenses in there in the 22-23 school year, because this is always 2 years behind. When I talked to the departments, they simply could not find any hires for these afternoon programs. We had some hires last year, but we did not go all the way up to that 90,000. So we'll continue to levy for it, but we will have to take adjustments if we don't fully expend that money. Home visit levy went down $24 and abatements of $5,187. Okay, now we're on page 26. This is our debt service, and this is how we restructured our debt. So the first line of voter-approved debt service levy. So we had a payment in 2024 for our debt. When we restructured and passed this question, we restructured it so there would not have to be a payment this year in 2025, this spring, but we will be making a payment in year 3. And so that is why we have the adjustment of $1.9 million right there. But we also don't have to make a payment in the spring for our debt. And debt excess, we had some adjustments in 23-24, in 24-25, but it actually is to the good of $516,129, and abatement adjustments of $118,000. Okay, so all of our funds together now, on page 27, all told, our gross levy, which was matching on the slides that we saw in the beginning, is $1.3 million. And, you know, our property tax debt to our residents is going down 2.86%. So, I mean, I'm happy about that as well, that they won't be seeing any increased taxes on the school side this year. So our debt, our percentage for our levy went down 2.86%. So we won't be asking any, we'll actually see an adjustment for all of our residents to go down. And I'll be showing that in a couple slides here. This one is really visual. It shows you what in 2020 the levy was at 40 million. And then in 25, it's now up to 44.9. So you can see how we've trended up. And the next items are, what are the main variables that may cause property tax increases and decreases? One, of course, are changes in market values, changes in class rates and history, market value exclusions. There's a newly adjusted pay 25 credit amount, voter-approved referendums, state adjustments, and new programs authorized or mandated by legislature. So overall, the property taxes, the valuations went up in Duluth. So overall, basically, we have to, everything will come down. But if you bought a house this last spring, and that house really was, you know, exceeded anything that was more than the average, you will have to pay an increased property tax. But for the most part, everybody's is going down on the school side. Page 30, the changes in market value. The market values are final and are not a subject for the upcoming budget hearings. They were discussed at the local County Board of Review and County Board of Equalization hearings held earlier this year. The final taxable market values may reflect a reduction under the limited value law. If this property is a qualifying homestead, the final taxable market values may exclude improvements which you have made to your properties. Barrett and I talked about this. We We gave you a copy on page 31, the new statute regarding market value exclusions. I won't read this word for word right now, but you can read it. So we wanted just to provide that for you and for our public. Page 32 is just another tax base history for people to see how things have changed. And then on page 33, so if on your property tax statement, you had no increase to your property tax value, if you look under residential homestead and find the number please for the 285,853. According to the Department of Revenue data, that is the average price of a home in Duluth. So if you go all the way to the right, if you had no increase to your property value, your percent will go down 10.67% in the amount you pay. We wanted to give you a range here. And if you go to the next page, if your property went up 6.5%, so for the same value home of 285,853 to the far right, your tax statement went down for the school at 4.20%. So we just wanted to show the range for you. So the last page, 35, is our resolution. Whereas pursuant to Minnesota statute, the School Board of Independent School District 709 is authorized to make the following proposed tax levies for general purposes. And you will also find this resolution in your packet, your board packet for tonight. Okay, comments and questions?
So if we went to page 6, I think it is. I think it's page 6. It's about the district's lease levy decreasing. Is that on page 6? Is that
Actually,
the, what,
it's a little bit more further down here. I'll find it for you. So the lease levy did get adjusted because of the UHG lease. When we entered that into our summer levy, we have to enter the value for the whole school year, but we left in September, and we had made the payment in July, so they made that adjustment because we were not there the full year. But we levied for the whole year.
is that the adjustment 476,
Yes.
911? Okay.
Yes,
Pay 2024, okay, okay.
that's correct.
And then just lots of good things, like on page 27 and 29, I think, or just so we have to remember this, and this data we should have in our brochures when we go out door knocking for our next levy or referendum, that, in actuality, in this coming year, property taxes, schools portion has
Yes.
gone down.
It's by 2.86%.
And if the city is claiming that theirs also stayed level, so we would assume that if your property taxes go up, it's the county.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
We all just kind of play a shell game between all of those three entities when we're wanting to share with our public. But thank you for sharing that too. Other questions? Member Loeffler-Kemp.
Yeah.
And then Member Eater.
I appreciated the information on the enrollments changes, and this is always gets a little complicated in terms of particularly the public understanding it, but the difference between ADM and adjusted pupil units, which method of student count is the funding source for this formula, just to clarify it for the public?
Thank you. On page 20, where we saw our student enrollment, that bottom line where it says adjusted pupil units, that is how our basic formula is composed of that number times our basic formula allowance. So that 8,998.86 times our basic formula. That does get confusing, the ADM versus the adjusted pupil unit.
Thank you.
And on page 3, Just a question, early childhood, family education, children under 5 years of age in the district. Is that in the district that are going to our schools, or is that people who live in our district that might not even have children in school?
Excuse me, that will be people in our district. We're working on a census right now with our early childhood department and gathering data from the county as well. We've had to pay for a file, it costs like $15. We've paid for a file to get accurate numbers, so we can truly, hopefully, predict how many school-age kids we will be getting.
So again, district means these are kids that are enrolled in our district.
Well, they potentially could be.
Potentially
There
could
are
be.
residents.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Just to clarify, that is from the census of this last census, whenever that was done. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The information you're getting from the county, it's the census data.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And then just another point, sort of an educational point, we're school boards, so we always like to make sure we continue to educate. Unlike the county and the city, school boards don't set their own levy. That's done by the Minnesota Department of Education.
That is correct. There's a small amount of information I enter every August into the Department of Education. And I put in transportation information, all of our leases, and the actual costs that we had to pay for our leases, any new leases, and OPEB data, which is from our actuarial. So there's like 5 or 6 different things we have to enter, but that is all set by the Department of Education. We cannot set our levy as opposed to a city.
So we can't set our levy as opposed to a city, and then we also have a basic formula that's given to us, set by the state. And then any additional monies that we seek out, we have to go out to the voters and the public and seek that money, which is unique to school districts and looks different than it does for other municipalities and counties, correct?
Very true.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Mikesell and then Member Zadowski.
Thank you for all your hard work on this. I know that it's a busy time of year when it comes to all this information needing to be published for the public. I'm looking at page 12 in our expenditures by code and just noting where there's big jumps from previous years. And so seeing that our salaries and benefits are up by nearly $10 million compared to last year. And are you able to comment on, like, what are some of the things that went into that increase?
Sure. Well, last year we had ESSER funds as well, but mostly we have contract settlements, and then, people move up on their lane or step, but mostly due to contract settlements.
Great, thank you. Obviously, making sure that we, have good paying jobs for our staff, our talented staff is important. And so seeing that reflected there. And then also looking and seeing that supplies and our equipment, those have both gone down by a significant $4 million or $3 million. And I was wondering if you can comment on that.
Also due to ESSER. We had ESSER spending last year, and this year it went away. So we had to adjust and go back to what we were spending on supplies and equipment
Sure, that
3 or
makes
4
sense.
years ago.
My last question is then, the public did vote yes on one of our requests for additional levy. Where is that 2 point whatever million dollars reflected within the budget then?
So that's a really good question. Thank you for asking. So before it was in our general fund, and we made our debt payment out of our general fund, but by refunding it, and we were able to pass that question, it now moved to Fund 7, to our debt service. So now we are able to levy for that, the principal and the interest.
Great.
And that was that page where I explained we did have a payment in 2024 in the spring. It was structured so there won't be a payment now in the spring of got, but we will go back to being able to make a payment in '26.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Member Zadowski and then Member Banks.
I have a couple questions. First, I'm looking on page 16 where it talks about our May 14th, 2024 capital projects levy, but it was also referred to as a tech levy. Do you want to speak to the difference there?
Sure. Those names are commonly interchanged, so we can call it a tech levy or a capital levy. It's that simple.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that. Thank you
Yeah.
for clarifying. And then, could you go back to page 25 for the school age care levy? I want to make sure I'm understanding that piece correctly.
So we levy for that every year, up to $90,000. But they look at our expenses 2 years back, and 2 years ago, they were not able to code anything to that after-school care. They simply could not find people to work the jobs. It's anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours a day, and it's at the end of the day. So our paraprofessionals or our support staff work during the day, and it's not easy to find someone that can come in those afternoons. And honestly, last year, we had expenditures of a little over $24,000. So we're going to see another adjustment at our next levy next year. And then, but they're working diligently to try and find, people to work in the program.
So what I'm hearing is our levy is kind of based on what we've spent.
100%
past.
from
Yep.
2 years ago.
Great.
And that's why we'll see a lot of LTFM adjustments, because if the project wasn't finished or they were even unable to start it, but yet we put it on our 10-year plan for our levy and they weren't able to do anything, they essentially take the money away. But we can always make up for it. We can try and get it done that same year, but again, it'll be 2 years before we even see the money again.
Thank you. Can we go to page 14, please?
Sure.
Just a quick question related to the special education instruction. Can you give us some kind of prognosis as to whether or not this is going to increase or go down, or I'm just curious as to, these are incredible expenditures, but with regard to special education instruction, what are the needs there?
Well, they are increasing every year, and we have to hold to a maintenance of effort. So whatever we spent last year, we have to spend that much or more the next year, because we cannot deny anyone services. And yes, the special education instruction is very high. I read a great article today in the Duluth News Tribune, and it is an issue for most districts across the state. And we're all, trying to, make it work. Whatever isn't covered by the cross-subsidy and the regular aid, the general fund pays for. Thank you for asking.
Member Loeffler Kemp?
Yeah, I was just looking up where that article came from. I thought it was NPR, and I just, before I commented on that, I wanted to make sure. It was an excellent article, and I'm glad you brought that up, and your question as well, Member Banks. I thought the article really gave a great understanding of our district, even though it didn't highlight our district, but what the needs are and why we've also been lobbying so strongly for more funding for special education with our legislative agenda. But that wasn't my question. My question went back to the chart number 13 on the page 13. And I just think that I hope that this chart is really highlighted, because, and the page before that, and I am really proud that 86% of our budget is staff. And staff across the district. And I just really, I think we have incredible staff in our district. We've attracted staff from other districts because of our great place to work, and I just really appreciated this particular chart and how it highlighted really where our money goes. is in people, and we're a people business, as we all know. And so thank you for that important chart.
You're welcome. So I hope this provided enough answers for you and for the public. There are a lot of components to the levy and what we, present to our public. And we'll continue to move forward and do our best.
I see that Superintendent Magus has his light on too.
But you summarized things so well, so I can leave it there. But just the chart that you pointed out from page 13, I think that really speaks a lot to the budget work that we're doing right now. To see, we've been saying 83 to 85%, but it's actually 86% of our expenditures are staff salaries and benefits. And this year we took 2.6 million out of other areas largely. That's why the 5 million that we have left to reduce, unfortunately, is going to have greater impact on staff. And so I think it's a very clear illustration of that. I also think many of the other points that were made related to the difference between cities and counties not having to go out to taxpayers for levy increase. I think that's really vital for people to understand, because when it comes to voting for a referendum or not, there's a lot of research that says that people will, if there's one thing they can control and say no to, they're gonna say no to that one thing that they finally have control of when the two other entities can't be part of that. But again, as I started things, I just want to say thank you. Your insights, your thoughtfulness, your resource is just unparalleled and very, very greatly appreciated. And I think that's why MASBO, the state organization, appreciates having you as a presenter, because of the skills you bring, not just to the district, but the state.
Thank you very much.
And now, do we have an opportunity for any community members to come forward and ask a question? Isn't that part of tonight?
They can, certainly, but if they
public
have a
comment.
particular question about their own property, we can take that by email, because I'd have to look into it if there's a particular question.
We'll move the podium over if there are questions. You come up to the podium.
Hi, just looking at page 5, I see that our total taxes are going 60% to debt, and I obviously don't know much about managing a school budget, but I was wondering if we have information on how we compare to other districts in our debt to,
That, I can easily get that. I'd have to research another district, but are you talking about the area districts?
something comparable,
Sure.
locally or otherwise.
I definitely can get that for you. Essentially, we like to see the general fund and the debt service fund to be 50/50. But because of some restructuring that we've had to do, we've taken on, like with our long-term facility maintenance bond, we do have some additional, so that, changed it to 60.2% and 38.2%. Ideally, we always want to strive to, it should be more 50/50. But I can certainly get you that information, Julianne.
That would be great, Simone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from our community? Thank you. Thank you. This concludes our Truth in Taxation. And then we'll just give 3 minutes or so to refigure the live stream and to just reset for our regular school board meeting. Thank you for staying for those of you that are waiting to